Ah, Italian food, Italian wine, Italian urban legends. It makes sense that a place so rich with culture and history would also have some scary business going on in the background. Sure, a lot of it might be ancient ghosts and strange red-robed creatures stalking the waterways, but there are plenty of urban legends originating in Italy. So in between taking in some masterpieces and possibly some pasta, why not indulge in some terrific tales from the Repubblica Italiana? I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we'll be counting down the top 5 scary urban legends from Italy. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more freaky fables. Perfect, let's begin. Coming in at number 5, we've got water blades. While this may be a tale told around the world, it seems to have a strong presence in Italy. Sure, the name sounds cool, maybe even conjuring up some images of wicked aquatic swords, but the reality of water blades is horrific. In fact, if you really like water parks, you might want to skip this entry altogether. I don't want to just ruin them forever for you. We've all heard of razor blades and other assorted sharp objects showing up where they shouldn't. Halloween candy, playground equipment, door handles, and more. But those are all relatively controllable once you've realized the present danger. Water blades, on the other hand, will rip and tear until there's nothing left. The urban legend floating around implies that some folks have been fastening razor blades to parts of water slides at popular theme parks in Italy. You can imagine what might happen if someone went slip sliding down one of these horrible traps. Maim is an understatement in cases like these. Thankfully, this urban legend seems to be staunchly set in the false category. For something that purportedly happens quite often, reports of such activity are very rare. The actual affliction of rapidly descending individuals doesn't seem to happen. Still, the legend must be very effective, especially because it seems to get told so often. I suppose the lesson to be learned from this one is be careful using public facilities. Good advice, especially in these days and times. Coming in at number 4, we've got Piers and Freda's alien encounters. Everyone knows a friend of a friend who claims to have been abducted by aliens, and if not abducted, then maybe they saw a UFO or something. But this Italian security guard has a claim to fame so out there it might as well be in outer space. He says that he was abducted by aliens 5 times over the course of 3 years. All abductions happened in Genoa, all apparently while he was still working the night shift. Skeptics, as skeptics do, dismiss these claims, but apparently he's given details of each abduction while under the influence of truth serum. Pretty astronomical, don't you think? The very first abduction occurred late one night. Zanfretta was patrolling and saw what appeared to be 4 lights. After seeing this, the engine, lights, and radio went out in his patrol car. Thinking, as most security guards should, that there might be thieves about, he ran over to investigate. He did not discover a group of miscreants though. No, he found himself face to face with some extraterrestrial life. A UFO was floating above and he was abducted by these outer space dwelling individuals. While approaching the so-called scene of the crime, Zanfretta was grabbed from behind. When he turned around, he saw a creature he could only describe as an enormous, green, ugly, and frightful creature with undulating skin, as though he were very fat or dressed in a loose gray tunic, no less than 10 feet tall. This, of course, was only the beginning of Zanfretta's galactic incidents. He's run into interplanetary assailants again and again, sometimes even when he had backup. Following some encounters, special investigators were called in. They discovered distinct markings on the ground that didn't seem of human origin, but nobody but Zanfretta has laid eyes on the creatures themselves. His claims have intensified the belief of an alien presence near Genoa and has made a bit of a celebrity out of the now elderly security guard. His last abduction took place in 1980 while he was under close observation. These days, he claims that the aliens contact him directly, communicating with questionable motivation. So if you're at all interested in close encounters with the third kind, Genoa might be the place to be. Coming in at number 3, we've got the Mazzarol. Speaking of non-human entities, let's take a quick trip to the mountains. The Italian Dolomites, to be specific. No relation to the comedian turned movie star recently played by Eddie Murphy. This mountain range sits stoutly in northeastern Italy and is full of legends and secrets. Plenty of cryptids and creatures are said to roam these mysterious mountains, from fairies to wizards and witches to mythical royalty. But the creature that piques my interest the most is the Mazzarol. In the valleys of Belluno province, this myth is still well known and widespread. This tiny, playful creature resembles a gnome, so make sure you tag your friends and let them know they've been gnomed. Woo! Now that I've made my requisite meme reference for the day, I can get to the actual details. This tiny, cap-wearing dude dressed in red wanders around the woods. For him to simply wander would be kind of boring though, so of course there's some darkness to this myth. He loves to find folks traveling around dusk and then lead them astray. Anyone who treads on top of his footprints is compelled by forces unknown to follow them all the way back to the no man's cave, after which they will forget everything about themselves. Many a tourist has fallen victim to the Mazzarol's mean-spirited trickery. Some legends even say say that the Mazzarol will abduct the occasional individual and make them his slave. The story goes that the gnome managed to steal a young woman away from her village and put her to work. He was kind during this time and taught her many skills: cheese making, butter churning, and more. He even promised to teach her how to extract wax from whey. However, he was never able to complete this final task, as one day a hunter stumbled upon the missing girl and brought her back home. A remedy made from goat's milk brought her memory back, and the girl, overwhelmed with gratitude, taught the villagers how to make cheese and butter. To this day, though, nobody has figured out how to extract wax from whey. Maybe someone will seek out the Mazzarol and find out, though. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Witches of Monte Matana. More mountainous mythical monsters are waiting for you. If you make your way out to Monte Matana, you will find world-class hiking and some unexpected extracurriculars. That's right, you can go witch hunting. Years ago, it was said that this mountain was a popular spot for witches to perform rituals and human sacrifices. They practiced their magics upon the crags and cliffs and amassed great fortunes. Reincarnations of these witches are said to return often in search of their material wealth from past lifetimes. The reality of this wealth is often called into question, but that doesn't stop treasure seekers from braving the range. Some of these booty seekers say they've encountered violent witches willing to slit their throats, but have somehow made it out alive. Maybe other proverbial pirates didn't make it out so well. Either way, Monte Matana is well known for magic, and you'd probably be best off if you just avoided making the perilous journey at night, unless you'd like to run into some witches, and in that case, I'll reserve judgment. And finally, at number 1, we've got Poveglia Island. This tiny island about a half-mile from Venice has been shut off from the public for years. Some call it the Plague Island. Why? Well, I'll get to explaining. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, this fortified island was used as a quarantine station. Over 160,000 infected folks were brought here to live out their last painful days away from the healthier portion of the population. Many mass graves have been discovered nearby over the years, proving how unfortunate anyone who paid Poveglia a visit really was. Napoleon stored weapons on this island as well, and when it was discovered, many small battles were waged. This, of course, added to the island's body count. Even later on, a mental hospital was built on the island. Legends say that one of the doctors in charge would treat his patients horribly, often torturing them and tossing them from the bell tower. With all these horrifying historic events taking place on the island, it's no wonder that folks think it's haunted. In fact, there's absolutely zero public access to this island. The folks in charge have deemed it too dangerous to visit. Venturing out to Poveglia is literally illegal. What could they be hiding out there? The wild and wicked history makes folks think that there might be something sinister waiting in the sandy shadows. Anyone else craving pizza all of a sudden? Maybe pasta and parm? Or am I the only one who gets hungry after talking about ghosts? Is that weird? Anyways, what did you guys think of the video? Were you familiar with the Italian urban legends I selected? What's your favorite urban legend from Italy? Do you think that regional tales are more interesting than the ones that could happen anywhere? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more significant ones from the top 5 scary Trevor Henderson creatures part 2. Christian Morrow says, damn, now I want a pet long horse. I'll name him Mobius. Who's a good long horse? Who's a good long horse? Would having a pet long horse just invite constant disaster? Or would it be like more of an outdoor long horse, you know, coming and going until it's dinner time? Shade Slayer Zychron says, my favorite is Lil Nugget. He's so cute. Plus, he's an Easter egg in the game World of Horror. Go check that out if you're into that kind of stuff. Zachzilla says, wait a minute, there's a creature that will give me back my lost gloves if I give it rotten food? That's not a monster, that's a hero. Well, they're not your gloves, they're random gloves from somewhere. And I've heard if you get 2, they're guaranteed to be mismatched. Uniform Pigeon 14 says, I'd like the Garbager to visit if he drops off bottle caps. I collect them. I know it's silly, but I like them. Well, some might say it's silly now, but when we all emerge from our vaults after the nuclear apocalypse, well, you'll be laughing your way to the bank. And Victor Valdez says, glad your foot is feeling better. Any other horror artists you think we should know about? Well, I also like Plastaboo, David Romero, and Nick Tofani. Find them all on Twitter. They're all pretty active and post some wicked stuff. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I waste away again in Margaritaville, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more terrifying toenails. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.